Right now, the United States defense machine relies on China, but the hope is that these magnets could change that.
To make military aircraft and drones powerful and heat resistant, some of their engines and rotors are built with permanent magnets. They're magnets made from rare earths, and right now China dominates the rare earth supply chain. Not only do they mine most of the minerals, but crucially, they also produce more than 90% of the world's permanent magnets. And when Beijing briefly halted exports in 2025, it sent a shockwave through the global defense industry.
That's where these magnets come in. We're in North Carolina at the production facility of Vulcan Elements, where they make these permanent magnets.
They aim to be an alternative to China-sourced magnets. The startup began production in 2025 and says it sources materials and equipment only from the United States and partner countries like Australia and Canada.
We want to make sure that we're going and filling an important gap for the West to ensure that they actually have the components that are required for their capacity today, but especially as they get ready to start scaling significantly.
To do that, Vulcan had to learn how to make these magnets from the ground up, grinding raw neodymium, iron and boron for processing.
So inside of this machine, these particles from an earlier step are spun into a nitrogen tornado that has the particles collide and smash into each other to form this very soft powder that's then later pressed into a magnet.
Vulcan is one of a couple of startups in the US that aim to loosen China's grip. By 2027, US weapons systems are supposed to do without Chinese supplies. To get there, the US government has started to pour money into projects, for example by buying a stake in California's Mountain Pass rare earth mine.
It's possible that later this decade, the US will begin to produce commercial scale quantities of magnets beyond the pilot scale that we see today. But I should caution as well that many of the companies producing these technologies at that scale are not multinational metals majors.
Startups like Vulcan are still in the early production phase. Some experts fear that they may not be able to scale their production fast enough.
So that was one of the challenges that we took on from day one, saying we want to go and ensure that we can find equipment, not lab equipment, but commercial scale equipment that we can scale our production processes with here in the United States or with our allies, mainly today in Europe.
If we take a look at where the United States sources its permanent magnets from right now, an interesting picture emerges.
While China absolutely dominates the supplies, Japan, the Netherlands and Germany could be partners for knowledge and technology sharing.
So Vulcan here also relies on tech from Europe and supplies from partners to make magnets, which goes to show that cutting China out of the supply chain for permanent magnets will require some form of international cooperation.